Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to walk you step by step on how to paint simple, vibrant clouds with acrylic paint. And before we get into it, I want to quickly show you the brushes I used and the colors that I'm using today. I've got an 1.25" flat and oval mop brush for blending our sky, a number 8 and number 2 flat brush, as well as a 3/4 inch mop brush to create our clouds, and then a 000 liner brush to add some details. And then we'll just be using 5 colors. So I have Ultramarine Blue, Cerulean Blue, Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Yellow, and Titanium White. Alright, let's get started. So I've got 3 big globs of white on my palette. And we're going to mix 3 colors from light to dark for the sky background. For the lightest color, I'm adding just a tiny bit of Cadmium Yellow and Alizarin Crimson to the white. For the middle color, I'm going to mix some Cerulean Blue and a little bit of Alizarin Crimson. And for the darkest color, I've got a bit more Cerulean Blue plus a small amount of Ultramarine Blue and Alizarin Crimson. And these colors will just help us create a nice gradient sky before we start adding our clouds. Alright, let's go to the canvas now. So I'm going to start with the 1.25" oval brush, and I'll dip it in some water and go straight into the lightest color. And I'll start putting it on the canvas in a swirling motion. So we want the light to come from the top left in this painting. So we'll put it up there. And then I'll go straight into that middle tone, and we'll start blending that a bit into that lighter color and across the center of the canvas. And then finally we can go into our darkest color and lay that all along the bottom. Now we can grab our dry 1.25" flat brush and just use that swirling motion from lightest to darkest to blend it all together. And then I'll just go ahead and dry it off again, and I can do some back and forth brush strokes to get that gradient a little bit softer. And there we go. Now I'll just let this dry for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and mix up some colors for our clouds. Alright, so we're going to mix 2 colors for our clouds. I'm going to do kind of a lighter color and then also a darker shadow color. So for our lighter color, we're going to have Titanium White with a small amount of Cadmium Yellow and Alizarin Crimson. And then for our shadow, we'll have Titanium White with a little bit more Alizarin Crimson and some Ultramarine Blue. Alright, so now we're going to start getting the shapes of our clouds on the canvas. So I'm going to use a number 8 flat brush, and we're just going to start kind of outlining where these clouds are going to be. And I'm kind of thinking of fluffy shapes when I do this, and I want it to be a little bit random as well. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of think of a couple layers. So we'll add some of that lighter color below that outline, and also start to create some flatter clouds towards the bottom so it kind of tapers off. And then once we have that, we can just go straight into that shadow color that we've made and start to fill in some of these gaps below our highlight. And just kind of using that same circular motion to kind of create that fluffiness. And as we get towards the bottom, we'll do sort of that back and forth, those flatter clouds towards the bottom. And I'm kind of doing this a bit quick because we're about to come back and blend some of these areas between our light and dark. Alright, so now we're going to go with that 3/4 inch mop brush. And I've just dampened the brush a bit with some water to kind of help with this. Then what I'll do is I'll go into our highlight color again and redefine some of those brightest parts and kind of lightly blend it down into our shadows to sort of break up that transition a bit and give it that fluffy look. And we'll go ahead and add some of that highlight color with a little bit of water towards the bottom to get a bit of like a blend going. You can also add some little wispy clouds here and there with that bright highlight. Alright, now we're going to make sort of a brighter highlight. So all we're going to do, we're going to add some titanium white to our highlight mixture. And we'll go in with that smaller flat brush, that number 2. Using that same technique, kind of scrubbing the edge of our clouds. We'll just go and put it right on the edge of our orange highlights. And again, working just a little bit quickly, because we'll come back with our 3/4 inch mop brush and we'll try to blend some of these areas. Okay, now what I want to do is come in with our detail brush. And I'll just take pure white and I'll start to make a crisper line, because up until this point we've done a lot of blending and softer edges. So now what I want to do is use that liner brush and create some more crispy highlights on the very edge of everything. And while I'm doing this, we'll also think about making the edges kind of more cloud-like. Maybe adding some kind of random brush strokes to break it up a little bit and make it a little more realistic. We can add some of that to our small wispy clouds on the outside of our sky. And you can also use your finger a bit here and there to blend. And then I'll just come with that dry number 8 flat brush. And we can sort of pick and choose a few spots where we want to blend some of that crisp highlight out. And to finish off the painting, I'll just come with that liner brush and a little bit of water to that white highlight. And we'll just add a few little highlights to the bottom of our clouds, and then a couple highlights here and there to kind of add like a little bit of layers to our clouds. And with that, I'm gonna call this a finished painting. This is so fun to do, and I really hope y'all enjoyed this and were able to make some awesome clouds. You can experiment with any colors when you do this. I just want to thank y'all all so much for painting along with me today, and I hope to see you along for the next one. As always, peaceful painting.